I don't feel that good. The heck's wrong with my looks? I don't feel that good. Here in Kentucky, here in Kentucky, I'm a nerd. They don't allow nerds around here. I ain't doing that hissing of it. I'm thirsty. Let's go get water. I was really afraid that Richard Pryor ain't my kin, but I would have preferred to be him rather than Cosby. Can he make sense of any of that? It's a parable. It don't make any sense of it, but it makes sense. I'm so thirsty. I'm gonna walk back in there to get a cup of water. It don't do it. So the things that I'd like to say, I would like to say, I'm unable to, because they're curse words, and I can barely get the words out. I'm so thirsty and stuff. I don't feel that good. Look, a potato. A potato. See? That's for you. Because you said ADD saves the day. I have to blow my nose before I can drink into the water. What am I doing? Let's think about what that means. I have to blow my nose. That's right now. I have to blow my nose before I could drink any of the water pertains to blowing my nose. I had to in the past. If you were to grammatically look at the words that I spoke. I don't know. Spoke. Hey, good old Bacon boy from the movie where they danced. Think of which one that is. Don't keep it hidden. Try to see where my heart is when I speak. If you can't see where my thoughts and intent and heart are, who is Bacon Boy, who is in the movie where they danced, and the whole town didn't like them to dance? Who do you think? If you can't figure that out, come on. I'm not. Oh, I get it. I understand. I see how YouTube is. They want you to say it. Well, that's great. I didn't understand they want you to go along with that because I'm also the hugest movie producer to have ever lived. So I'm also putting these YouTube videos on a cable show or maybe my own cable station. I might start some cable station and have 24 hours of streaming television with content. We can call it content now that's also on television and movies, films and videos that we watch on YouTube. I better not get in trouble for it. Trying to do the rights to everything as a producer. What would you have the rights to own? Well, God owns everything. So, at that moment, I was the biggest movie producer on Earth, and it was about a few moments, maybe a second, 1 second. For one second, as I spoke that, I was the biggest movie producer. Am I the biggest movie producer on Earth? Well, no. Steven Spielberg won the title right then. So, at that moment, before that, a few seconds before that, or a minute before that, when I said I was the biggest movie producer on Earth, I had won. I actually was. And then it went to Steven Spielberg. And God does all things on this earth. And you might step where some other person had $3 billion, and God may take the $3 billion, might take that $3 billion from them, and then it leaves the $3 billion with God, and they may have fallen down, and then their son, before anyone else could get it, or their wife could get it, their son had to step in and got to own the $3 billion. And there's no telling what somebody might do, because I've had this same experience, and I hope to God it happens to Steven Spielberg, because I went through the same thing with my dad. And Steven Spielberg would then, because he worked his whole life for that $3 billion, he might try to turn into the devil or something, but not literally the devil, but really scary and almost the devil, to try to take back the money and get his son out of there. So he has the money because he worked his whole life for it. And the sin of this earth is inherent in everything we do. There's good and bad, well, in the things. There's God who always existed. God always existed and does all things. And he's the one who gave Steven Spielberg those billions of dollars and the really good talent and ability he has at making movies wherever he is. So then his son, who might take over for him one day, if he's at all like me and my dad, his son may later, after his son is like, I don't know, man, he's hardly got any money compared to Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg may have his son may have millions of dollars, or 200 million, or I don't know what he has, 3 million or something, or whatever his son has, like $10 million, $2 million or something, or 3 million, probably 3 million, and then his son may go in and say, no, I ain't doing that. He ain't going away. So he changed his mind and told God he can't go through that anymore. So then he's not going to go away anywhere. And he kept staying at home. The whole time his son was at home when he literally became the rightful owner of $3 billion when his father had fallen. When his father had fallen and lost all his money, and his father was like living out of a van with some woman who he wasn't supposed to be with because he did something behind his wife's back or something like that. Like I thought that happened with my dad. So then the son walked in and got the $3 billion that was here, and this went to nothing. There's no good feeling or bad feeling. He was really like way cast out in some van. He was cast out in some van with the woman who he cheated on with and her baby, who we're not going to say who they were, but some kind of family to the guy, to his son who got the $3 billion. And then, Steven Spielberg came back, or my father came back after I got his bunch of money, and before anyone else could get it, I had to walk right in and receive the love of the Holy Spirit and the Lord wherever he was, and I got all of his money, and my mom had some of the money. So with my dad, this was a week ago or 4 or 5 days ago, and God made it so I had $20 million. $20 million. Me, John Birmingham, I had $20 million. and my dad fell, and I was like, if I'd acted a little faster, the way my dad was, it was like he had 24 million. The way he's pushy about it, why he has all his money or whatever. But I only got 20 million of it, and my mom got 10 million. And then he had fallen, and all he owned to his name was a van. He lived in a van. That was what he owned, what God said he owned, even though he was like kind of camping out in his own house, like he wasn't really supposed to be there. And my mom owned it, and I was the one who got his $20 million. And God does all this, and then, get your mind out of the gutter. Don't think about sex or anything like that. It's disgusting, and unless you're married. But God messed up this earth by knowing what would happen with the devil, that he didn't really mess up anything. God didn't do anything bad. He let the devil exist or turn it. For some reason, the devil had to be the devil that caused everything bad. Anyway, so I got the $20 million, and then no sooner I claimed the $20 million for my dad. No sooner than he came back as the devil. The devil. With a devil face, and he tried, and the money was disappearing. He still didn't have the right to own it, and he was pushing it further away. He was trying to crush it, but he couldn't get it. He was in the dark shadows of it. And so I said, okay, it's my $20 million. And I got it. He tried to crush me, and he broke my whole body, but I still had the but I still had the $20 million. It was godly and good and in the sun and bright and from the light that God created. And he was in the dark and black and looked like the devil to get his $20 million back. And so then I had forgotten about it. And then he somehow was still living at the house with my mom, and she kept 10 million of it. And I was like, oh yeah, I have $20 million. I have $20 million. I didn't know how, but, and then one of the things I did was God told me that my mom gave me one of the houses that he had. And so I reached to his house with a fantastic forehand or something. She held out the key and said, you can have it. And I grabbed one of the keys with a fantastic forehand all the way to his house, down to the mountain wherever he is or something. I don't know. It's so far away. It could be in China, and you can do that with a fantastic forehand. And then I reached out and grabbed the keys and pulled it all the way back. The Fantastic Four, they can stretch their bodies really far. And I grabbed the keys and I brought it in here somewhere, and it's in the house, and I hid it, and none of them will be able to find it, because when my mom gets here, she'll try to look for it and take it back, and I had it in my hand, and I put it, it could be somewhere, but it's here. It's here in the house, and I'm not going to say where it is. So I own one house. I got one house out of it that's mine, and it's one of their special houses, and I'm going to keep it because I remember it with my mom and dad. If anything happens to them or they die, I'm supposed to take over for my dad. So those things have started to happen between me and my dad. I've started to and he might get angry and he might throw me out. I might end up being homeless, but I'm supposed to take over for him. So it's a little crazy and scary and frightening sometimes, but it's not at all. I think all that went away. It's a small amount crazy and frightening and scary compared to how it used to be. It's like, it's a little crazy and frightening and scary. So that's like Hades or hell or something. And I had judged all these people in Danica's family. I thought, you're going to burn in hell or something like that. And then and my dad, the way he calls burn in hell means somebody burning in hell while they're on earth. And he used to tell it right to them. He'd say, burn in hell. Or he'd say, go to hell. He'd say, go to hell. he would say it. And so I started saying that to people. So right now I can tell you go to hell. And that means you'll have Jesus to protect you, but it'll feel like you're going to hell on earth. And it'll be so frightening. And you'll have to act like Jesus going into Jerusalem if it's that bad. But I'm telling you in the video, it's not going to be that bad. So you might see like weird things of hell like on earth from lack of sleep or something like that. And I don't know. And so I got his $20 million, and my mom got $10 million. The weird thing is that the way he had it worked out was that he had $24 million. She's pushy about it, and he only let her have $6 million. It was like she was like incinerated, like some dark black thing like this or something, because she was so selfish for what she tried to do for the money. But when I got there for the $24 million that was like godly and good, and he was had fallen, and I got to claim it, and it was mine from God and Jesus with no sin. And now there's a bunch of sin. I have to take a crap, and who knows, this crappy body. And and so I got the 20 million, and he came back like the devil rising to get his 20 million because he'd worked his whole life for it. And then, but I had given my mom 10. I said, okay, she gets 10 million. It was godly and good, and it was godly and good that I had 20 million, and she had 10 million. And my dad came back like the devil to try to take back his money. And then I just forgot about it. And then later, God made it so that I had to be that same way like the devil to keep the money that I had. But God did that because he made sin on the earth. So for some reason, the devil's here on the earth for a reason. We can't always be godly and good. We can't always be without sin. People sin. And there must be something about keeping that kind of money, or any amount of money, even a toilet tissue. If this was your last toilet tissue, you had to wipe your nose, you might have to sin to be able to keep it. But you're supposed to do everything for God and Jesus, or you'd have no more toilet tissue. And you might somebody might end up giving you $40 billion. You know, God you might marry someone who is not mine, is not for me. That person's not for me. That person's not for me. Way wrong. Somebody else might marry somebody out there who you might get $40 billion or some huge amount that's pretty much like 40 billion or something. It might only be like 40 million or 4 million or 3 million or 80 million. It's more than 3 million. I don't know how much it is. And if you marry that person, you'll get a bunch of money. Whoever's watching this right now, or somebody, I don't know who, but God told me that that's who they are. Is somebody who if they become the money, that's a big problem. They're not supposed to be in it, because that won't make it to. They won't make it to heaven. That'll be in that. There's no way their soul will make it to heaven if they become in it. So you have to try to not become in it. You have to keep your soul, and be willing to let all the money go for God. Be willing to have $0 if you have to, because right now I don't know how much money I have, but a few weeks ago, for a couple months, I had about $1 million net worth, and then it would go down to zero, and I didn't know what I had, and then I had to say I at least had 200,000 if I got thrown out, so I wouldn't be homeless, and then stuff like that. And so I don't know how much, but God does all those things. So other people probably had plenty of money the whole time. There's two people I was talking about who if they get married, they'll have a bunch of money, but because it's probably the woman's family, but I don't know if that's real or not. Now, I shouldn't talk about it in the video, but I already told you the good or the best of those things, and I have to really use the bathroom right now. So I gotta use the bathroom. Danica's trying to make it like she wants me to have a crappy poo in my butt the whole time I'm talking, so I don't look attractive to anybody. Because if you married me, you may have zero. You might have zero. Or if you fornicate or lust, if you lust after other people, and it might make it like you're married, and then it could take your money all away, and you could be poor. So try to not lust or fornicate. If you have, with God, you have the most with God, and don't do it for the money itself. you might end up being poor and stay married because there's way more with God. If you have to be poor, stay poor. But if you have to be rich, be rich. Or if you have to have $40,000 or $80,000, do whatever you're supposed to for the glory of God. Here's my Noah's Ark. Look. I'll show you. It's a pose of my face. No, I'm not going to do that. I got to use the bathroom. I got to use the bathroom. Alexa, play Poo and Potty Pee by John Birmingham. I gotta use the bathroom. This is a good time to take a bathroom. Time to use the
I couldn't find that
bathroom.
on Amazon Music.
Alexa, play Poo and Potty Pee by John Birmingham.
You Got to Poo and Potty Pee by John Birmingham on Amazon Music.
You got to poo and potty pee. You got to poo and potty pee, yeah. You got to poo and potty pee. Poo and potty pee, yeah. Pee, yeah. Pee, yeah. Poo on potty, poo on potty pee. You got to poo and potty pee, yeah. You got to poo and potty pee. You got to do it, potty pee, yeah. Poo, potty pee. Poo, potty pee, yeah. Got to poo, yeah. You got to poo, yeah. You got to poo. You got to poo. You got to poo, yeah. You got to poo on the potty, poo on the potty. Do a little dancing, do a prance on the potty tonight. And as the poo falls out, that's right. You got to pee. You got to pee, yeah. Poo on the potty, got to pee. You got to poo on the potty, pee on the potty, poo on the potty, pee on the potty. Shake your body, shake the poo out, yeah. Why'd you do that, man? Alright, it's healthy to do when you make a poo. You got to poo. Do what you gotta do, poo, poo, on the potty, pee, on the potty, poo, on the potty, pee. You got to pee. Take it from me, you gotta pee. Take it from me, you got to pee on the potty, poo, on the potty, pee. Pee on the potty, poo, on the potty, poo. What you gotta do, shake your body, poo. Be like me. It feels good, it feels free. When you be like me, so come on, going on wherever it is. It's a little person just don't take it a wish. You gotta do on the body, feel on the body, it feels good to your body. Your body is free. Body like me. head on the set, feels good when the pee comes out of your, you know what would you do? What would you do when you pee or you poo? You make a number 2. Ooh, no, it's not poo, it's good. It feels good to poo. It feels good to poo. It feels good. It's free. I like to poo on the body, poo on the body, poo on the body. No, not on the body. That was an accident. Why did you do that? It wasn't even said. It was somewhere else. Take it now. No, don't say that. That is bad. Just poo on the body, pee, pee. Feels good to me. When I'm peeing on the body, it feels so good. You got to poo on the body, pee on the body, poo. You got to pee on the body, poo on the body like you. Feels good to the body when you pee on the body and poo on the body like me, like you do too. When you pee and poo, it's true. Now wash your hands when you're done. Okay, bye.
Yes,
Jesus and God, the Holy Spirit, you are near it, you are near it. Jesus and God, the Holy Spirit, you are near it, you are near it. Whoa, Jesus and God, Holy Spirit, yeah, you are near it. Jesus and God, Holy Spirit, you are near it, whoa, you are near it, whoa, Holy Spirit, whoa, Holy Spirit, whoa, Jesus and God, the Holy Spirit, you are near it, you are near it, whoa, Jesus and God, the Holy Spirit, you are near it, whoa, you are near it, whoa. Holy Spirit, whoa. Jesus and God, the Holy Spirit, you are near it, you are near it, whoa.
The show where me and John switch up instruments.
No, this is the part. We're gonna make up a completely original song out of nowhere. We're just gonna make up. He's gonna start playing guitar.
We're just gonna make it up right now.
Yeah. He's just gonna make up a song out of nothing.
Just shut up. Just
Okay. Hey, it's Normie. That's my grandmother. She's 93. Is that correct?
It's really hot here all of a sudden.
Normie, she's 93. She's Italian. Hey, Italian.
No. Is that why I laugh? Hey, Alexa, stop, Corey. Alexa, stop. Stop it, Corey. Stop, Dad. Alexa, stop. Hey, that's the reason why I probably laugh. Because I don't feel like everyone's okay, everybody laughed, yay. Like everything was okay, we're laughing. You know, because it must have happened in high school with all my friends. Like everyone was laughing, like everything was okay. Like when we're at somebody's house or all together. Now, good class, all together. Good class. Gotta go into work to be a teacher, my neighbor. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good job. That's pretty good. Yeah, it sounded like Bill Murray, even Bill Murray. Murdy. Hurdy-gurdy, Murdy. The low IQ sounded one who was joking about the people with the low IQ a little bit more than the third one was. The first one was Bill Murray making fun of others with the low IQ, and I was a little bit of the low IQ one, but more Bill Murray. The second one was a hurdy-gurdy Murdy man. That was like the murky waters that Danica's family is like. And I was still the cooler one, looking down on the low IQ ones. And the low IQ ones had gotten a little higher or a little less. And then by the third one, there's some other one that I lost the memory of, unless I'm not Italian. But that means if I have forgotten about it, forget about it, that means I'm Italian. That means I'm Italian. Put these up, it's the horns up, hell of it. Alright? Drop that, Texas. Drop those horns of it, hell of it. Drop that heavy metal, people, with your horns there. There must be something good about it in a small way. It's not 100% bad, or I wonder if it would be destroyed if it was on Earth, or it would be down in hell. If it was 100% bad, probably be incinerated or destroyed. Yeah, if there's no love in it, meaning God is love, if there's no one to love whoever that was, if it was an evil creature of hell, it'd be destroyed, and putting somebody's ashes into my body of it is just a mean kind of thing that people try to do because they didn't know how. The dumbest thing ever is that to maintain their wealth, they were mean and evil and did all kinds of evil things and good things and godly things and bad things and good things. And they suffered the least of others. They to try to maintain their wealth that they might have thought was something that they almost put before God. But you can't judge them because you don't know if they put it before God or not, and you can't judge anyone. But what's here in my hand? Why would I be guilty of it? I don't know. I don't know. If somebody's hands are up like this, does that mean they're guilty of wherever their hands are facing? Anytime somebody puts their hand up, unless one hand is down, which everyone does, including the President of the United States, and every person when you watch them talk. As you notice, the past 4 or 5 years, my hands have been down. I've had to suffer the least of others, my hands down. So looking back at my videos, they may become huge when everyone else is afraid to put their hands on a Christmas tree, right? So maybe my fear has gone away, and maybe God will turn it into something else that's not even a problem at all for anyone, especially the president, right? Because you don't want him to get in trouble because he's probably done really good work on Earth. So, he talks a lot with his hands, and why would that mean anything bad if it's towards a tree? Why would my guilty hand be up to something that looks like a woman's vagina with a cut-off thing that was too long of a thing, almost looked like a penis, that they did in the art? They cut it up. They did this. Look at this art. What does this look like to you? What does that look like to you? That's how the artist felt about that kind of thing. I don't know. No. I have something on the outside of my ear that I never had before. One time in high school, 2 girls kissed me at the same time, and that was the only time I did anything like that with 2 women instead of only 1 woman at a time. Sorry, I took a little piece of skin off of my ear, and they thought it was one of the coolest ones, and they both walked up to me and started kissing me at my mom and dad's house, and I don't know why they did it, but it wasn't bad. I thought I was the coolest guy ever. I never thought that I was so cool that 2 of them would actually like me more. And so it was something that I never did with my wife all those years. But here and there, if I looked at the nudie channel stuff, sometimes I would look at 2 women but I didn't want to act on it in real life because I knew it was wrong. So my whole adult life, my entire adult life, I've only been with one woman at a time, and it was mostly, I think it was all my, well, besides when I was a teenager, I think I had a girlfriend, but I didn't really, I wasn't attracted to her because she had a baby and I was still a teenager, and it was like something about it, I just didn't want to be with somebody who had already had a baby, so I didn't do any sex things with her, but I was with my wife. And when I was a teenager before that too, those girls kissed me at the same time. I thought that was great, but one wife is plenty, who's Danica. Somehow God has us married still. I heard a sound out here. What is it? Hey! And to this day, if I itch my ear a little too much, I don't know. I don't want to touch it to itch it because it's a little more prone to getting like some kind of a small, never had herpes on it. It looks so spooky out there. I thought somebody was out there. Dick. It sounded like a little animal, like a raccoon on the steps. Look how spooky. Yo, the owl with a cape on. He's got a cape. See if he does it again. It looks on the steps and there's nobody there. It sounded, I could hear the sound of it out here walking on the steps. A larger kind of, and this is way out in the woods. Way back there are 2,000 acres with no people. Unless there are strange native peoples who live there, who have evolved. That's terrible. I believe in God created all animals and humans. God created all humans who have dominion on the animals. But did you know that God created birds before he created humans? No, he threw some birds in. If you think, he threw some birds in, he created birds. You know, that's more than you'll ever be able to do. You know, he really created birds. Every bird there is, he created real birds. You know, there's a reason why his name is capitalized. You know, he, nothing on her hand, but sometimes I might have scratched it and there could have been blood on it or something. But this time I scratched the whole little piece of skin off it that was happened to be on it, and there's nothing on my fingers. It looks pretty clean, but it's because two girls one time in high school kissed my ear and kissed me. But all they did was kiss my ear, not like that song that who knows what other people have done. And so, okay, there's, I don't know. I can't put the computer down on this. It's still not dry. I don't know why. I guess I'll do what I did downstairs. We'll get the dehumidifier. Let's put this in the dark. We don't have to look at anything. Okay, I'm gonna wash my hands, even though there's nothing bad on my hands. Hey. Well, at one time, I earned money at the rate of $1.4 million a year for 3 months. When I had to become a man. There's probably, in some way, there's more to it than just becoming a man, but I had to work really hard. and did a huge brainwashing thing that changed the whole country. Change was the enemy. But God did it. And it was scary. It was frightening because it could have, horrible things could have become real. And by a miracle, I didn't do any satanic rituals or something, and it was rituals of the Old Testament. And they can be bad, because in the Old Testament they said it was okay to like kill gays, or that was just like the gays weren't affected one way or another through the whole thing. But I was pissed at him because somebody made it like there's something on my butthole, like it was used as a puppet. It was constantly doing it. I was really pissed, but the anger was diverted towards another whole kind of people and many different kinds of people rather than gays. I don't know why. And then I had to suffer like Jesus going into Jerusalem, but it would have been way more frightening because it would have been down in hell, and I had to face maybe going down in hell for who knows how long with really bad horrors of hell. And I had to face all of it like Jesus, and to go out into the nation, and I found myself somewhere 800 miles away from home, walking the streets and acting like Juan. I called myself for all the minorities to be okay. Hey! I tried to get the glory for it because I kept trying to be famous, the most famous one on earth. So that helped me to be like Jesus, to get the ideas out there to everybody in the United States. And then all black people were okay after I was taken away to a hospital that was one of my biggest fears, and an eclipse happened when Jesus was on the cross. And then they didn't put any black people in camps or anything like that. I went back to the normal times before I had come up with my cool ideas in California, everyone holding hands in peace, even the terrorists. And they like kind of took their own version of my ideas, or they went with it, and they said they put I don't know what they said because I didn't talk to any in real life, but they put Obama in office for my real ideas of like cool stuff like John Lennon and everyone holding hands in peace, even the terrorists, and everyone get along on Earth, no more war, stuff like that. Did that out in California. Instead of me getting to be president, they put Obama in. When I had already quit doing that kind of, trying to do all that kind of big, huge stuff, and I started a family in Roanoke, and they put some other guy in, Obama, and they got pissed. So, and somehow used me as like a Rambo who wasn't enlisted in the military, and I had to brainwash the whole country. It was so frightening. I could see hell rising from the surface, and aliens, I thought, but they were only humans who had really highly advanced crafts that they don't tell us about and stuff. And then by some miracle, I suffered again 3 years after that for all the minorities to be okay, so they didn't put them like in camps or anything like that. And every last human being in the United States was okay. And then Jesus was the one who suffered more than me being like Jesus. And I was just a jerk before, but now God is letting me be the cool one. And so maybe I'll get to be the cool one. And I was an idiot who didn't. I was just trying to be the coolest, most famous one because I had to. Because I had to try to do those things. I don't know if I'll ever be the coolest, most famous one. And that's what they do when they try to, in the United States, when people try to be famous, they think they want to change the world or have their own original ideas. My mom and dad are trying to say, hey, calm down, there's something special about how big I went at it. And in our family, they went really big. They went pretty big. They actually did. My grandfather, was the chief of the NYPD, the most powerful policeman there was of his time. Chief of the NYPD, the New York Police Department. he had John Glenn and Asheron at his dinner table sometimes, and he was driven to work in a private car every day. My dad is acting like I'm a little nerd compared to him, but I've done huge things too. My dad, well, you know, oh shit, Dad, what are you doing? Oh, stop doing that thing. He acts like he's better than me. My dad did huge things too. You know, like, and I tried to, it almost like made it like it went right to me from my grandfather instead of him. I was like, oh crap, I was afraid my dad would die. And then he acted like, you know, standing for him. You know, my dad, I can't even do it. You know, they're determined. They think they're better than me. They think I'm so small. You know, they have no idea. I'm the third in line down the generation. So it's turning me away from my father. It's turning some disgusting lust he thinks about with his wife. Like he thinks he's the best one. He can't see. He thinks that I'm so small and he has no idea. And that, you know, he's determined on it. So I have to turn away from him before he turns into some sexual lust with his wife about how much money he has or something. It's disgusting. So long ago, I was supposed to turn away from them to think about Danica's family in Texas, who have also done really huge things in Texas. So our families did some pretty big things. You know, Danica's father was is a doctor who may be working on research. I'd like to talk to him about how to make humans live longer. I'd like to talk to him about some of those ideas I can help him with if he'd like to implement some of them. Maybe I can get him to invest in some of the ideas I have. I found a new way for human beings to grow taller. I found a new way for human beings to grow taller, and my dad's trying to keep my money down. I don't know why, but if I go to Los Angeles, I know a way for human beings to grow taller. And I'm literally in a mansion right now that I renovated and bought in cash. So, you know, don't pass me off like you think I'm some crazy ass. My dad's trying to turn it all like high in the shadows, like blaming it on like Danica's dad as if he's gonna die, and it like makes him angry there in Texas, like he has less money or something, like he hardly has any money. And then my dad's like so old that then they get angry, and then it makes it like my dad's like about to die or something, and then he's like so angry at him, and he tries to, and then I don't know. And they should just stop doing anything mean like that. And then they try to act like it goes to somebody's penis, like they think about sex, and I hate all of it. But it's the sin that does it. It's the devil that causes all the sin. And we're not that big. We might have like a few $1 million or whatever, or like a little bit more millions. They try to act like they keep trying to get me to talk, and they keep trying to act like they have a bunch of money, and then so Elon Musk has like 10,000 times the money that they do. And I have all these really good ideas. I have all these really good ideas to wait for me, fag. That's what I'm the gay comedian. I'm the actual gay comedian. There's a skit, and he said, it was in a video where a fag is a cigarette, right? A cigarette. Hey, a fag, a cigarette. I am a fag. I'm a fag. I'm a fag, Dad. I'm a fag. You know, I'm so straight that I can say that. It doesn't make me gay to my own butt. You know, I've never been gay to my own butt the whole time. What are you going to do about it? Ha, 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 ha. I'll throw some humor in there. The hugest political lover you've ever seen. Fuck you. You know what this is? Guilty of holding the whole world in my hands. It's a small world, boy. I'm guilty of it being a small world. You don't know shit. Okay, so I don't know the words I say, but God makes me say that. And I accused them of being a witch, and I was mean about them to the people in Texas. So then I had to do that, like as if I was a witch. And I barely hung in there with these rich people who are in my family. And I'm really about God and Jesus. I'm about God and Jesus. And to stay married to Danica, I got to have a bunch of money and wealth, and God put me to work like 18 hours a day since I was like 12. And but it was not easy. Like Taza got to feel good the whole time, you know, because she didn't care about trying to improve some big thing, or she didn't have to work for some reason. But one time she worked for 3 years so hard for God and Jesus. She only worked for 3 years for God and Jesus, and God empowered her to have all these huge like abilities. Like she did 10 times the work of a regular human in 3 years. She worked about for 30 years in only 3 years. It was a miracle. And now she just kicks back in her house, a little afraid of how it was to go out there every day, how big it was, and all the how it was. And then she just drives around town here and there anyway, and nothing ever goes wrong. And she gets to see family like way more often than I do. But what I did was huge, and I had to stay indoors for pretty much like 10 years, and it took my license away now. But I didn't get much of any credit for it. Like, I kind of had an effect on things politically in the U.S. Like, it was so weird and different. First, they used my ideas, and they put Obama in office. They come up with their own ideas, too. They don't steal ideas. They don't plagiarize or whatever. But they might look at the country the way things are. And you can have an effect on the country by going out there and interacting with others. And if you try to go really big and huge, like to be the #1 celebrity or famous, you'll have an effect on things in other ways that you never would have thought. And it's not that fun sometimes. And that's what happened to me the second time, when they're like, you better put the country back to how it was supposed to be before it turns into a third world country or something like that. It's a sound. It's hot. Now my mom and dad are trying to put some weird ass phenomenon. They get angry at my wife's family, and somehow I can't even talk about it. It's like they do some disgusting thing with all their. I have to turn this heater off. I have to turn the heaters off. Something about my dad has something to do with it. And see, that's the thing, is I'm not supposed to blame others. You're always supposed to forgive others. And we're not supposed to know where the wind comes from or where the wind goes. Because those are the people of the Holy Spirit. We are the people of the Holy Spirit. We're not supposed to know where the wind comes from or where the wind goes. So don't try to find out where the sin is from and stuff. And I got to stop doing that. Because I started still trying to find out where the sin was from, and then I'd forgive them and be kind to them, and they'd clobber me or they'd hurt my whole body, and I'd be like Jesus, and I'd forgive them. Ugh. Now it feels like I have to take a shower. There's some bad smell coming from there, or way at my mom and dad's house, or old shoes of rot. It has something to do with my dad, a small amount. That's what that is. And I found out what it is. But is that bad to find out what the thing is, to see how he is, to see if I can help somehow? It's my old shoes. They don't like the shoes that my dad used to wear. It's a putrid bad smell that got on me, my mom and dad. Now it's like they try to put a puddle of filthy, disgusting something. They try to put it on to me to try to make it like I'll then think about sex of other women instead of my wife. But the devil is the one who does that. And it disgusts me to be near my mom and dad without my wife here. And it's not my dad's fault. My dad didn't do that one. But he did something to do with the other one, how like the shoes smelled like rotten fish. Who was, I guess, my dad. He hadn't done anything wrong with any of it. But before that, he kept being pushed about thinking I was small and stuff like that, and I didn't know. But, don't be mean to anybody because of it. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And they try to work me up into a big, mean anger to try to, you know, it was never like the bad guys in the Disney movie. It was like, hello? I tried to grow my hair, my facial hair, like a beard. It's disgusting. I'm going to ignore it. There's nothing you can do about it. The devil does all the bad things. So, who cares? I can't go on anymore, you know. I'm exhausted on how hard I worked since I was 12 as a child until I was 20. And then I really started working hard. And that's what they'll try to do now. They'll try to test that and work me up into more of an anger, because look what time it is. 5:56 in the morning. Yep, that's when they get to work. You know, this is a little late for them. Usually it used to be right at 5 a.m. And then, it's just terrible. And I got to not have to do any of it until I was 30. I was a child. I was never a man. I'm still not a man today. So don't put the mean beast of a smell into my nostrils pretending I breathed like one. You know, it's the devil who tries to do that. I was a child until I was 37. And then, a child of God, not a child of earthly parents. We're children of God. You can be a child of God however long you're supposed to, but you might have to... my mom and dad would get it wrong. They want me to work and do one more thing. They want me to work at one more thing. It made it easier for them to work that they had me. I carried all of them. And helped their worth go. I helped their worth go to their soul now. And then, it's been so much hard work. They want more. They right then they left like a puddle of some disgusting thing right on who knows what to see. Like, they try to make me say one more thing. They have to, it's like they never stopped putting me through, making me work like a slave for God. That's the thing. My dad, sometimes he thought maybe I was a slave for him because, he thought, why else did, he feel like shit because he looked bad and didn't really get to feel the best all the time. But I don't know what anybody, never mind. But we're not supposed to know where the wind comes from or where the wind goes. And we're not supposed to be aware of the sin. And in our families, we didn't do that talk like Obama, how he whispers someone to sleep with a, I like Obama. He's a regular man. I was tricked into, I don't know. I never met Obama. I don't know what he's like. I've never gotten gay. What is tricked? Never gotten gay with a man. So you can think whatever you want, but you're crazy as shit if you think that I was ever a goddamn faggot. So fuck you. And that's how I feel. And that's what my dad wants me to say to you right now. And then he might send in a police officer to watch and then act like I'm in trouble for saying it. And then the real reason is because a faggot is a cigarette, right? An English cigarette, so I don't get in trouble with the LGBT community. Oh, I hope I didn't do anything wrong and politically correct. I wasn't ever tricked out. What is that? If I wasn't aware of it. They made it feel something onto my asshole when I had clothes on the whole time, used as a puppet. And like trying to, who knows the horrors that were done. Brainwashing is not something that, is good. It's not something good unless there's something good about it. Maybe in some ways it could be good. I'm not aware of how, but, and so, I'm not supposed to say those things, but he wants to act like I'm a bad guy. So they're all quiet and they have all their millions of dollars and they think I'm stupid for showing it all to be a famous person, you know? Like I have $0 and I keep talking like they act like, haha, it's so funny. They, you know. So I'll turn the camera away from me because they don't like to even see my face. They don't like to see how I like to look okay because I felt like I was looked down on because of the way that I looked as a child for 10 years. I didn't have much rest with that kind of confidence like the other kids had. But I had way more than I knew. Because I was good looking and I didn't know it, but I'd have to shave my face, and then I felt like everything was okay for a couple days. I don't TikTok. I don't TikTok either. I don't TikTok nothing. I know. I'm a TikTok nut. I am a TikTok nut. I don't know. So when you're an American, you might end up doing huge things and not even getting the credit for it. Like people with a few $1,000,000 or something. Like people in our family, it's not even that big. But the crazy ass ways that people are out there, it's the sin. And even when my mom and dad only had like a few $100,000, like when we were growing up, things are so creepy and disgusting. Like the ways that people ate, like all the bodily foods and stuff that come out of their bodies. Like, I didn't do anything horrific and bad like that until I had to become a man when I was 37. I didn't be mean or sinful ever until I had to become a man when I was 37. And then I went back to being a child. I got to be back to my regular child of God ways. And I was a man to have to say it right then. I was a man when I said child of God. But it wasn't that bad. I would like to be with my wife and not look at my face. I'm trying to show other things besides my face, but my mom and dad diverted it back to me or something. I'm trying to figure out the meaning why, but I think God did it. I'm trying to not look at my face so the subject gets diverted away from them trying to keep me down by the way that they think that I look. So I don't know if any of that's real or not, because we're not supposed to know where the wind comes from or where the wind goes. And so are people of the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. And that's how I always had been growing up. But something happened in 2005 when I became a little bit mean. And I tried to find out where the wind was from and where it went and the sin. And I was kind of bad. And it caused me depression. And after that, I used to hope to die. And that's what happens from the sin, Al. That's what happens from the sin. You don't try to chip in and make them feel bad too, right? He's like one of the punishing people of the Old Testament. He tries to punish others for their own sin. So lay off, man. People have been I was persecuted long after I was punished for any sin I had done. So it wasn't easy. You know. God does all final judgment. God does all final judgment. We don't need anyone to punish anyone on earth. God does all final judgment. If we were kind and didn't hurt anyone, and there were no police and no authorities and no governments on earth, and had anarchy, people would be as kind and good and sinful as they are today. We don't need anyone to punish anyone for wrongdoing who's a human being, because God does all final judgment. Here's the Bible passage. Don't look in Wikipedia. That's a man-written thing. Look in the Bible that God had written, and he got prophets to write who were so godly and good that they were prophets or disciples of Christ. God does all final judgment. We do not need sinful men on earth who judge others or punish others for the sins of others. How can we know that they deserve to be punished or not? Well, God put them there for a reason. But why was I persecuted by them long after I deserved any of it? And it made me stay indoors at my house. I was so afraid to go out there. It told me scary, frightening things out there about 20 times or a dozen. And it'd be easier to just pass away in a grave. It'd be easier to just lay back down in a grave and God just did this to everybody on earth and made the whole thing blow up and we all got to be in heaven. Some shit like that, whatever snapping their fingers stands for. I've never heard of any occult crap like that. I hope God makes us all go right to heaven right now. One snap of his fingers, he gets rid of all the sin on the earth. Nothing bad ever happens to happen again. Get away from me. Get away from me. They put in a New York City anger. God does all final judgment. What happens at the final judgment? Go ahead and show their website. Did you know this? So, I might be poor or small. I don't know. I don't have to be big. Everything I do is for God's glory. Unless it's sin, I'm not acting any more righteous than anyone else. I may have sinned way worse than you, even now. But in the past, I sinned pretty bad. But I might sin more in the future, but you can't assume that you would. Once you have God and Jesus, and you really start learning who God is, hopefully you'll never sin again when you make it to the next life, and maybe on earth you'll never sin. Maybe you'll never sin on earth. This is terrible. I gotta go. Something's bad about this. I better write to Rowan. Okay. I gotta write to Rowan. And and Ivan and Ayla and Mama, but they were taken away from me for 10 years. So why should I have to live anymore when I have no physical love at home? Okay, but I keep having to live. So I've hoped and prayed to die 40,000 times. But God made me have to go through this for what I did when I brainwashed the country on stupid ass shit I never believed in anyway. And it would have been 400 years in hell if I didn't do that. For the other one I did in California, that was like standing up for everyone, holding hands in peace and getting along and changing the world to be a better place, but it only changed America. I thought it changed the whole world, how big it was. But I looked at other countries and they're pretty much unaffected. Like years after I had tried to change the world to a better place with no more weapons, no more war, and everyone holding hands in peace and stuff like that. And then I'm just going to go. I got to talk to Rowan, Ivan, and Ayla, and hopefully I get my wife back at home. I have her. We're married, but we, have a mother and father who you're supposed to leave your mother and father to be at one flesh with your husband or wife. You don't ever go back to your mother and father once you're married, or it's wrong and bad. They bring sin into your life, and you should honor them, but less than your husband or wife. They're a problem. I tried to shut the whole thing in that. They've been doing some annoying thing to me all this morning for about 40 minutes. Feels like they put a puddle of jizz onto my penis to try to make it go to two women instead of my wife, and I hate them. That's what happens when you don't leave your mother and father, evil sin and shit. Anxiety, whatever you want to call it, they'll make you crazy as shit. They try to take away your wife if you go back to your mother and father instead of your wife once you get married. Don't ever go back to your mother and father once you get married unless you have to take care of them in old age. That's the shitty thing about it. Literally putting a puddle of jizz of who knows where they got it from, trying to put it on my penis right now with all their heart to try to make it like I can't even be with my own wife. I hope they fuck off to hell. See, that's why I said shit like that, I'm not gay. I don't know where their puddle of jizz came from. Leave me alone. That's when people kill others. They want to see how mean you'll be about it until you kill others. And then it gets built up to a mass level, and they start doing shit to your asshole, and you never liked it, and you're never gay. They start doing evil, horrible shit to you. They might build you up like Hitler. So have Jesus and forgive them and let them beat your body, hurt it. And the only way you can fight them off is if they rape it. If they try to rape you, you can physically hurt them back. And don't worry if they hurt your body. When you have Jesus, don't worry if they hurt your body. Forgive them. And that's how we're supposed to be. That's the way we'll be judged on Judgment Day. Have Jesus like we are to others, forgiving others. Okay. Bye.